Well, it's official. My man Paul George of the Clippers just got paid. Nothing but congrats for him because that is a very nice check, but today we will be discussing the future of PG-13 and whether he will be staying in LA to make a championship push or getting traded as quickly as he arrived. But before we get into today's video, if you've been enjoying the content lately, it would be greatly appreciated if you subscribe if you're new and join the Woods crew. It's looking like we will not be able to hit 1K subs in the first month of having the channel, but I definitely think we can do it before 2021. But it cannot be done without people like you, so just hit that sub button below and show some love to the channel. Also, it would be absolutely clutch if you could hit that like button below as well. It really does help the channel grow because it lets YouTube know this video is a banger. And lastly, if you want daily hoops updates on the gram, drop me a follow at Woods Hoops. It's always linked below. Honestly, I just want to give Paul George props because of what he has done lately. Now, he has said some controversial things lately. You know what? I'm just gonna roll the clip.
What do you guys feel like, obviously, with the letdown of last season? What are we in store for this upcoming season, personally from you, but from a team as a whole?
For me, you know, because a lot of people don't know, I work out and I train hard every summer, right? This was the first summer I wasn't able to do that because I had, this past summer going into last season, was the first summer that I wasn't able to do that because I had shoulder surgery. So I missed a whole summer of training. And so when I came back, the team was already, rolling. They already got, we started off okay, but we didn't start off as well as we wanted to. But I feel like they already had a little chemistry going. And so when I came into the mix, I missed that time in the summer of playing pickup ball, hooping, getting a rhythm, getting a flow, working on my game. The timing right. So when I came back into the league and started playing again, I just felt off. Like I didn't feel like a part of the team. And then, the way I was being used, I felt like I was, Doc was trying to play me as like a Ray Allen or like a JJ Redick, like all pin downs, all like, I can do it, but that ain't my game, right? You know what I mean? I need some flow, I need some mixes of pick and rolls, I need some post ups, all that. Just different touches, you know what I mean? And so it was just, that last season was just hard overall. But I think for this year, everybody's starting off on a healthy page. We're starting off on the same page. Me and Kawhi gonna get some time together working out. I think everything is just not rushed going into this.
Now the fact is, what Paul George just said could very well be true. I'm not saying I agree with this, but there have been talks and arguments that Doc Rivers misused many players on the team, such as Zubac, Landry Shamet, Jermichael Green, Montrezl Harrell, and Paul George himself. But what it comes down to is the fact that especially after his poor playoff performance, Paul George should not be tossing blame around. Throughout the season, Paul George finished a career-high 33% of his total plays using the pick and roll. At the same time, the usage rate declined in the playoffs, and George was standing at the three-point line many times. It's very easy to throw shade at George over these comments, but in all honesty, there might probably be many players on the Clippers who want to publicly say the same thing that Paul George did. But the thing is, they didn't do this because they know better than to cause turmoil and play the blame game like Paul George is doing right now. But although Paul George made this statement he shouldn't have, he also recently manned up and took the blame for the Clippers' terrible playoff performance and cleared the air of Doc Rivers' comments when he said, "I'm the one who blew the 3-1 lead, not Doc. I take full responsibility for it and it haunts me every night. I respect Doc." It definitely seems like Paul George might finally be realizing that if he wants to have success with the team and be liked around the league, he can't be going around and saying things like he has been. But this isn't the only interesting thing that PG has said in the past few days. He also stated that he wants to be a Clipper for life and retire a Clipper. And shortly after that, the LA Clippers signed Paul George to a new 5-year max contract that could be valued up to $226 million, which is absolutely crazy. I want to hear from you guys below. Do you think that the Paul George contract is overpaid, underpaid, or just right? I think that it could honestly be any of those options depending on how Paul George plays this upcoming season. But as of right now, I am going to say just right, especially because of what Paul George said recently about coming back to the 2020-2021 NBA season. Quote, "I'm back with my trainer that I had my MVP season. I'm locked in, I'm on." It's clear that Paul George at this point wants to get better and better and win with the Clippers, which could definitely be something that we could see next season. But let's go back to the fact that Paul George said he wanted to retire a Clipper because I believe this is a very interesting statement. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but Paul George has literally been notorious for saying things like this and leaving the team shortly after. Back in his Pacer days, Paul George said this about staying with the Pacers: "My goal is to win one here. I never want to leave Indy. And when George eventually went to the Thunder, he said something along the same lines. I'm here to stay. We can bring this home. Referring to a championship, which they obviously did not do. Now, like I said in yesterday's video, when it comes down to it, the NBA is a business and the landscape of the league can change very quickly, so these statements don't really mean anything for players or teams. Now, there is a very good chance that Paul George will stay with the Clippers and try to win a chip. And it's pretty hard to picture the Clippers parting with Paul George because of all they gave up for him. That is, unless they were to get a player that is even better in return. You guessed it, James Harden. Now, do I think that a James Harden trade to the Clippers will go down? More than likely not. But it is most definitely always fun to speculate, and that is exactly what we do on this channel. But if this trade were to go down, I believe that the Los Angeles Clippers would receive James Harden and Ben McLemore to make the money work, and the Houston Rockets would receive Paul George, Lou Will, and any picks that the Clippers would be willing to part with at this point. The Clippers were obviously not thrilled with the performance of Paul George in the bubble playoffs, and he has been thrown around in many hypothetical rumors before, but nothing has actually materialized at all. Now, Harden has actually recently come out and said that he would not be opposed to being traded to Miami Heat or the Milwaukee Bucks, adding 2 more teams to his trade preference list along with the 76ers and Nets. The fact is, I don't think that Harden will get his way at all when the trade goes down. I was just watching my guy AM Hoops video before writing this one, and he made a very good point. James Harden has little to no leverage with the Rockets right now because of the fact that he has 2 years left on his contract. And all the stars we have seen traded in recent times, like Anthony Davis, have demanded a trade with 1 year left on their contract, which leaves teams scrambling to get anything in return because otherwise they will lose their star for nothing. But the Rockets have plenty of time before they have to worry about this, so they will definitely take their time and wait for teams to continue to give their best offer for James Harden. And the fact is, this could carry on for months, and if Paul George begins to struggle tremendously, could we see a package with PG get sent to Houston? I'd say potentially, but the odds at this point honestly are very slim. Because back to the Clippers, their locker room is already very tense, and I don't think they need someone like Harden coming in who clearly has been the problem at this point for the Rockets. I believe that the Clippers just need to take the time to make things right, like clearing up the whole situation about Kawhi Leonard getting special treatment. Because if this Clippers team wants to win at the highest level, they will all need to be on the same page in the locker room and on the court, like their fellow LA team, the Lakers. Although PG has not exactly been the man of his word when it comes to staying with a team, I believe that he is most definitely telling the truth about how he is training for this upcoming season, because he took the blame for the losses and said that it still haunts him to this day, which means my man Paul George most definitely has something to prove going into this next season. And I believe that we could see PG go off given nothing happens injury-wise. Whether or not PG goes crazy this year, it's definitely a must-win year for the Clippers, and if they don't have more success than last year, we could definitely see things blow up in their faces and potentially a blockbuster trade go down. But I guess we'll have to sit back and see what happens. But luckily, basketball is finally back tonight, and we get to watch the Battle of LA. So let me know below, who do you think is taking this dub even though LeBron and AD aren't playing? As far as this video goes, let me know down below as well. Do you think that Paul George will remain loyal to the Clippers, or do you think he will be traded at some point in the future? At this point, I don't even really know because like I said, the NBA is a business, and we just have to expect the unexpected at this point. I just want to thank you all so much for watching today's video, and if you enjoyed, it would be greatly appreciated if you guys could clutch up and hit that sub button and like button down below, because as crazy as it is, that is all it takes for me to go full time at this point. If enough of you subscribe if you're new and join the Woods crew. I have been uploading every other day, but I think I'm going to take the jump and start uploading 5 times a week, and I can 100% say that you will not want to miss a video because they are all bangers. Tomorrow's video I believe will be on the story of Bol Bol and the fact that we could watch him flourish into an all-star as soon as this year. And let me just say, you guys will not want to miss that one. But until then, you guys just stay tuned. I'll catch you all in the next one. Woods out.